Right, in this video, we're going to talk about some of the homeostatic imbalances that can result when things are not regulated properly with our skin. So, first off, a few things that can be related to the dermis and the epidermis and how they interact with each other includes the types of scarring that are known as striae or streaks. This is the stretch marks. So these are going to be common that resulting from the stretching of skin, common during pregnancy because as the fetus grows inside the mother, it's going to stretch the skin as it needs to make more room. So these silvery white scars are what we call the striae. You also may be familiar with blisters. These are due to short-term acute trauma, typically from a burn or repeated friction. They result in a fluid-filled pocket that separates the epidermal and dermal layers. All right, some coloration of the skin. So we have the melanin and the melanocytes that are responsible for our normal color of skin. But our skin color can also be indicative of certain conditions that we might have. For example, if it appears kind of bluish, as in this image right here, that may indicate that that conditions known as cyanosis and can indicate poorly oxygenated blood. This is oftentimes a sign of respiratory or cardiovascular problems. Either you're not getting enough oxygen into the body or that oxygen is not being properly distributed. On the other spectrum of color, we can have what is known as paler. This results in paler than usual skin when blood is ultimately diverted to your internal organs. So this pallor is known as blanching, can be caused by emotional stress. Oftentimes, people will be described as white as sheet, caused by low blood pressure, anemia. Scarlet fever can also produce regions that produce pallor. So this individual here has scarlet fever. Notice that her cheeks are red, but this region right here is paler than usual. Erythemia or redness results in redder than usual skin. So this over here on the individual with scarlet fever is going to have erythema. So this is oftentimes a result of embarrassment or fever. Can also be a sign of inflammation or allergy. Yellowness can be a sign of liver failure due to the inability to eliminate bilirubin due to it's not functioning properly. So yellowness, when it shows up in the skin, is known as jaundice. You can also get sort of a yellowish color when you eat large amounts of yellow or orange vegetables like carrots. Excessive carrot consumption, like large, much more than a typical person would eat, can result in orange or yellowish skin. Bruises are another sign that something typically is not going right underneath the skin. So bruises can arise or show a variety of different colors based on how old they are and what's going on during them. So the red, purple, green, or yellow marks represent different degrees of healing, and as things start to break down, the components are going to change color over time. So bruises are known as ecchymosis or hematomas. frequently. And you can see in this image, the starts off as just reddish due to the damaged blood vessels, but as that hemoglobin gets broken down, it becomes more yellowish or green as it heals until you result in basically a return to the normal skin color of the individual. All right, another type of homeostatic imbalance is going to be different types of skin cancer. Skin cancer can vary in severity. So we'll start off with the least malignant form, which is basal cell carcinoma. One of the, I want to say, bright aspects of skin cancer, not that skin cancer is good, is that the more common types of skin cancer tend to be the less serious. So basal cell carcinomas are the most common type, but they are the least malignant. They are the result of the stratum basale cells proliferating, ultimately invading the dermis and the subcutaneous tissue. Most often is going to occur in sun-exposed areas of the face and appear as shiny dome-shaped nodules that develop a central ulcer. Surgical excision will cure 99% of these. Squamous cell carcinoma then is the second most common. They arise from keratinocytes of the stratum spinosum. These are going to appear as scaly reddened papullae that arises most often on the head and the hands. It tends to grow rapidly and will metastasize if not removed. But if you have an early detection and remove these, they tend to have a good outcome. And then the most serious type, but fortunately the least common, are melanomas. These are going to be cancer of melanocytes in our epidermis. They are highly metastatic and resistant to chemo. Only about 1% of skin cancers result or are the caused by melanomas, but most skin cancer deaths are caused by them. Most appear spontaneously, but they can develop from pre-existing moles. So it's a good idea to keep an eye on moles to see if things are changing, and if things change with them, then you might want to seek out treatment for that. So one of the things to keep in mind about moles, especially because we're trying to monitor them in case of melanoma, is the ABCD, sometimes E rule. So the American Cancer Society uses this rule for recognizing melanoma. The A stands for asymmetry. So notice that this mole is not symmetrical. It has differences on the left compared to the right and the top compared to the bottom. B stands for border irregularity. So you don't have just a nice smooth border, but the border has indentations throughout it, and so that is another sign that this might be troublesome. C stands for color. Notice that you have sort of a darkish brown red color throughout, but the darkness and the exact color throughout does seem to vary. And then the D stands for diameter. So if it's larger than 6 millimeters in diameter, which is about the width of a pencil eraser, that's another sign that the mole might be melanoma and should be removed. Those that include E in their diagnosis criteria or diagnostic criteria, if the mole is changing over time, that can indicate that it is something to be worried about as well. So E stands for evolves over time. All right, burns. So we have several different ways of categorizing burns. One of the most classical ways is calling them first, second, or third degree burns. So a first degree burn is going to be when you simply damage the epidermis. Typically, this heals in about 2 to 3 days, typical of sunburns. They are painful by all means. Anybody that's had a sunburn will be familiar with that pain. Repeated sunburns over time can increase your risk of skin cancer as well. So that is another reason why first degree burns are not beneficial. The healing does tend to happen fairly rapidly with first degree burns. Second degree burns are going to include both the epidermis as well as upper dermis regions. These are going to also appear as red and be painful. Skin is going to take longer to heal, typically 3 to 4 weeks in a second degree burn, and they usually will develop blisters like you see going on right here. Third, this is going to be full thickness. That means that it is going through the entire thickness of the skin, and so going through the epidermis as well as all of the dermis. It can appear as grayish white, cherry red, or blackened. Initially, there will be edema, but because you've damaged the tissue, the edema typically won't tend to stay there because it tends to lose water. Ironically, the third degree burns are the least painful. This is because you've actually destroyed the nerve endings with them. But they are the most dangerous. Skin grafting is generally advised because it does take a while for burns this deep to heal. All right, so that does it for this chapter on integumentary.